When I first had the idea of hospitality business leadership interviews, I reached out to Scott Taylor, President and COO of Walk-ons Sports Bistro, headquartered in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We went back and forth on a date and settled on one 2 months out. By the time we sat down, the pandemic and the business shutdown in Louisiana was in its second week. We kept the interview date despite some challenges. Now, full disclosure, prior to the pandemic, I would venture to Walk-ons on a fairly regular basis, and I'm biased to their culture, food, and service, not the least of which is their ability to find any sporting event I wanted on any given large-screen TV in the restaurant. I also admire some of the interesting features, like these self-serve beer taps at some of the tables. Scott has served as President and Chief Operating Officer of Walkons Enterprises Operations, LLC since December 2010. During his tenure, Scott has led the organization in systemization of all brands, successful franchise growth, partner buyout and the new investment and buy-in of Drew Brees, the New Orleans Saints quarterback, in May of 2015. Believe it or not, that's Drew on Undercover Boss. It was my first attempt at this new idea of interviewing hospitality business leaders, and I was using new audio and video technology. Apparently, Scott was as well.
Officer here at Walkons Enterprises. I've been here since 2010, late 2010. When they had 2 locations, still founders running the business. So I had an opportunity to meet them through a mutual friend that was consulting with them. At the time, they had pizzerias, had Irish pubs, catering companies, nightclubs, and I was with a brand in Tampa called Beef O'Brady's, and we had sold a company to private equity in 2010. So I was planning to take 6-8 months off. About 6 days into that, I was kind of going crazy. So I had this opportunity to come work with a friend in Baton Rouge that was, like I said, working with Jack and Brandon, the founders. So kind of getting to hang out with them, and it is an interesting deal because the brands were phenomenal and these guys were incredibly entrepreneurial, but there were no systems, standards, recipes, processes, anything. So for a guy like me, and I'm kind of a builder, it was great because I could come in and just, help out, consult a little bit. So, I wrote recipes, standards for these guys. And it was really, honestly, just doing a favor for a friend. I didn't even think I was going to get paid. And it was just cool to hang out. And then, ironically, the first time I came up, one of their pizzerias was so bad. They're like, "What do you think we should do?" I said, "I think you should close it." Like, throw everything away, start over, leach it from ceiling to floor, retrain everybody. And they're like, "Okay." So I'm like, man, these guys are, they know what they don't know, and they just wanted to be great. And so it was actually kind of nice and refreshing to be with entrepreneurs that wanted to, just get better. And so that's kind of how our relationship started. We did that, and I thought, well, they'll never want me to come back. And they said, "Hey, can you come back another time?" And that's when I got to see Walk-ons for the first time.
Okay.
And, and it's been a great
Was that
run.
the location on Corsi, or?
So the location on Burbank.
It was on Burbank? Okay.
When I went to, and then I went to the one on Corsi as well. It was just those 2 back then.
Yep.
And they had one under construction in Lafayette. So that was kind of the deal. They were getting ready to open Lafayette. They wanted to kind of change the menu because Walk-ons, you're familiar, back in the very beginning, Jack and Brandon were not restaurant guys. It's a cool little deal. They doodled on a napkin the concept of Walk-on, but draw a kitchen. And so, like, even an arrow pointing to kitchen. So I was like, that's kind of where y'all went wrong in the beginning. You got into this. Business, wanting to run a bar, and they ran a great bar, but the food was never good. So Lafayette really was the first venture into saying, let's just change the food. Let's change the mentality. And so, for a brand that had never won an award for food in its 2003, that was its 7-year history. We were voted best new restaurant in Lafayette when we opened, and then best new restaurant in New Orleans later that year when we opened, because of our menu, our food, fresh seafood, all the things that it had never been known for in Baton Rouge. We changed that image when we opened out of Baton Rouge, and then came back later, and changed, the menu and the culture a little bit here. But it was fun, and opened a couple corporate stores and did some fun things.
Scott, I don't know if you know any of my background. Let me fill you in a little bit. I'm second or yeah, second generation crazy in this business.
Okay.
My great uncle founded Piccadilly cafeterias here.
Oh, awesome. So Baton Rouge for sure.
Yeah, and well, no, because I was born in Atlanta when we started opening restaurants all over the U.S. When I was a little kid, I would chase my dad around whenever we'd open these places. I'd run around and slide. The routine. But
Yeah.
so we did that, and I wound up coming back here because Dad wanted to be back here for me to go to high school. So I went high school through grad school here. Then I started out at Disney, working in their hospitality world. Then I went to a startup casino organization, and it was a spreadsheet when I started with them in a bingo hall in northern Minnesota. Never
Wow.
been up there in my life, but the guy liked me and said, "Come on." This is similar to what you're telling me about your story. It's like, why not? I'll just do it. And I don't know what the heck they're going to pay me. So I was tired of working at Disney, and let's go. So I get up there, and we brought that thing public with 2 stores, 2 casinos, and we wound up being the fastest growing company in North America. And I wound up wearing the marketing hat for those guys. As Grand Casinos, we got, Grand Casinos, it was Avoyles, Coshada, Gulfport, Biloxi, all that stuff.
Great.
And then we sold it. And then a handful of us were sitting around and we got pitched by this idea, which wound up being Rainforest Cafe. You familiar with Rainforest?
Oh yeah.
And we grew that thing to 32 stores. And it's the same thing. We had a handful of entrepreneur guys. Our chairman was an entrepreneur, quite wealthy entrepreneur. And the rest of us were the process procedure guys. And we kind of jumped in there and wound up selling the company. I mean, that was our model. We build it and sell it. And we sold it to Fertitta out in Houston. Yep. So, it's fast forward a little bit. I ran into the dean of the hospitality group at University of Arkansas, and he said, "What the hell are you doing in Baton Rouge?" I said, "Well, I'm looking after my parents. To be honest with you, I stopped everything. I'm looking after my parents." He goes, "Why don't you come up here and help us out a little bit? I mean, we like your resume. You sound like you got a personality. Why don't you try with us?" That's so awesome. I wind up doing this, and I'm telling them, I'm like, you got to deliver this stuff online. Well, you can't do hospitality. Yes, you can do some of it online. Yeah. Trust me. Next thing you know, we're doing it. And this whole thing blew up, with the COVID. Mm-hmm. They're all coming to me saying, "How can we now put all this stuff online?" So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. So, I mean, there is some level of common knowledge there.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm literally in Sherwood Forest, right down the road from you guys now.
Okay.
So, and I was before this going up to Fayetteville about once a month teaching an MBA class on finance, and came back, but I'm here now doing all this stuff. So just to give you a little background, it's funny listening to your background. It's like, yep, I know the routine there, so that's good. That's good. So
it's fun. I think it sounds like you're a builder as well. So you like to kind of get things and get in there and.
Builder of people too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's, you can have great bricks and mortar and you can have great processes and procedures, but if it's not for the people, and you're lost. And that's the other thing I wanted you to talk about a little bit is, it's Walkons Culture is fantastic. And I'm saying that from not only a guest perspective or a customer perspective, but an observer of the product you guys put out. And when I say product, I'm going to talk about the experience that is put out. So talk a little bit about the culture. I know it's very important and it's a pillar of the brand.
100%. So, the culture in the beginning, with Jack and Brandon, walk-ons at LSU, that playing for the love of the game, team before self, all those elements kind of fit in, 2 guys that were starters in high school that, to sit on the end of the bench. And I think Brandon said his best season, he played 11 minutes all season. Yeah. That's not playing a lot of basketball, but that busting your tail against the starters is going to make the team better. And so you're playing for the love of the game, but it's kind of that chip on your shoulder underdog a little bit as well. So, when I came here in 2010, getting ready to open one in Lafayette in February of 2011, all the things you would read online or articles about walk-ons were like, who's going to take over their building when they close? But great real estate, I think that'd be an awesome Chimes or whatever it was.
Mhm.
No faith at all. I mean, just a total lack of belief in the brand. And honestly, the brand hadn't really earned it from a food standpoint. It really was a great bar by, LSU, and the one on Coursey just kind of got its tail kicked by Chimes when they opened up there. So, we didn't have the reputation. So we really kind of went into Lafayette with this chip on our shoulder that we were going to be different. We're going to prove everybody wrong. And ironically, we get in there, and I think I was working with the company still as a consultant for 3 months at that point. We'd written all brand new recipes, new food. There were no systems, and we opened this restaurant with trainers that are, just learning how to be trainers, and we got our ass kicked. I mean, every day, $10,000-$12,000 lunches. We had never seen this kind of volume. The trainers are crying. I'm like, we got to suck it up, guys. Like, we better figure this out. And so there was a few things going wrong, but I think about day 4 into it, just getting lambasted every day of people coming in. I went to the hostess and we put a sign on the door that said "closed for gas leak," and we shut it down. Comp the whole dining room, closed the restaurant. The 4th day we're open in Lafayette. The manager, Tony Caballero, is a general manager who now is our VP of Ops and Training. I went to him and said, "Tony, shut it down. Just start comping the dining room." He thought he was getting fired that day. And I said, "He's going anywhere, but we got to figure this shit out, because honestly, you can go into the weekend without a plan, and it's just going to get worse and worse." So we figured out a bunch of stuff. One, we weren't bringing the line guys early enough, so they were still finishing setting the line, and the tickets are rolling in. So by the time they get ready to push out a ticket, they got 15 hanging. They're already in the weeds. They couldn't get it out. And so when 12 o'clock would come, you're a restaurant guy. I mean, there's tickets everywhere. We couldn't clear the board. And, we didn't have prep crew out of there fast enough. We really should have opened at 10:30, not 11, and just not tell anybody. So we could have slow sat the dining room. And same thing, the hostesses were running and see. So all the things that were just basic nuts and bolts, we got down to it, made a challenge for the team, said, "Listen, we got to make these changes, but the goal is let's clear the board. If we can clear the board at noon, that means we're full. We're not going to get our ass kicked anymore. And if we can do it, we're going to celebrate. Don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to have a celebration." So we reopened Friday, closed the entire day of Thursday, reopened Friday, had a pretty good Friday lunch. Didn't get to quite where we wanted to be. Saturday was better. Sunday was better. Monday was fantastic. We cleared the board at 12:05. So 12:05, the kitchen crew, the managers just started like, "What do we do?" Like, so just pounding their fists, breaking plates. I mean, it was like sounded like a terrorist attack happening in the kitchen with a packed restaurant. Nobody got it. That was the birth of the Rumble. So if you've ever been to a walk-on, or Who Are We? That was a celebration from Lafayette in 2011 when we could finally clear the board the Monday after we opened. So that would have been February 20th. It was the birth of the Rumble, and it's something we've done every day. We do it in every location twice a day, and it signifies we're going to kick ass, not get our ass kicked. And it's all back to that Lafayette story. And so it's part of that's the underdog. The real estate's still there. We're getting ready to remodel it. We've sold it to a franchisee. It's been a $5-6 million location. It was almost a $7 million location. It's a $6+ million location today. It's a great spot in Lafayette. Nobody's taken the real estate from us, but it was that attitude and that swagger. Same thing that came into New Orleans. So the culture started there, and then the culture started with people. We also figured out that to be part of this culture, you had to understand what it was to be on a team and really work on a team. So we found great performers in our organization that played team sports. So it's one of the things we ask. Now, is that we won't hire someone who's not played on a team? No, but it's one of the things that we look at, and just who fits this culture. Do you understand what it really means to be on a team? And then we'll ask them their walk-on story. And your walk-on story doesn't have to be a sporting deal. It can be a time you were told you weren't smart enough, fast enough, good enough, big enough, whatever it was in life. And how did you handle the no? Was the no a warm up for the big yes, or was the no you tucked your tail in and went the other way? If you're the one that tucked your tail in, we didn't want you. We wanted people that handled it. And like I said, you didn't have to be an athlete. You just had to be able to handle being told no, because that meant you were a fighter. So could you be a fighter, and did you know what it meant to be on a team? And so those are things that kind of tie into the culture. And then today, those are things we talk to with prospective franchisees. If we meet an operating partner, We talk to them about their walk-on story and their fight. And if they can't tell us a walk-on story and they can't tell us what it's like to be on a team or how they fight, then we don't want them. And we can be picky that way. And I think that's how we've built and protected this culture, because it's a big deal, to become
How
part
do you
of
reinforce that?
everything we do. So it's from this adversity, for instance, right now, every company out there is furloughing and laying off people. You get 50 people in this corporate office. This is an empty office.
Yeah.
But you look around now, it's a great place. There's nobody here but me and one other person today, but they're all at home getting paid. They're going to get paid because they're supporting the franchise locations. All of our managers getting paid, not short paid, half paid, getting paid. And we're employing as many of our team members as we can. Problem is we don't have bars aren't open, dining rooms are open, so we can't bring everybody back, but we're working hourly team members. Managers are not cooking because that's our culture. Yeah. And so I think one of the things we could have done is said, oh my God, guys, this is something nobody's ever seen. We got to cut our losses. We're going to have to, cut half the staff, cut your pay. Managers, you're going to be prepping and cooking every day. And then all of a sudden our culture, you're like, this is a moment in time. It's not the end of time. And I think we've looked at it as that's a moment of time. This when we go back, get better. Let's make sure our systems are stronger. Let's make sure that all the things that we've been working on when we're in this office every day, sitting in front of a computer, that stuff needs to be done. So when we open back up, it can be boots in the field to get our 38 restaurants back open again and support the system.
So you're not furloughing anybody?
We have not furloughed any of our corporate staff or our management. Now, hourly team members, we've had to, not all of them, but some, because we just don't have a place for them. We're not open.
Right.
You can't employ them all, but we give them a free meal every day. So we send out communication to all our team members twice a week. Here's what's going on. Here's the latest we know. We're doing everything we can to get you back. Here's opportunities to work for other companies. So we found jobs with, delivery services like waiter.
Yeah.
They drivers. Hey, we've got great hospitality workers. Go work for waiter for a while, and then when we're ready to come back to Walk-ons.
Right.
And so whatever we can do. But we've definitely made sure there was a hot meal for them every day, 7 days a week since we've had to shut our doors.
That's fantastic. I know Walk-ons is in the popular press and the business press, they've had a pretty good story about how it's a controlled growth.
Right.
And you've got a deliberate strategy for growing. And it seems to be, and I applaud you guys because there are downsides, and this as well, of going too fast.
Came from a company that grew way too fast,
Exactly. So, I mean, that can be a shot in the foot. I mean, you can't do it. So what was your growth strategy, and what do you see your growth strategy coming up post all this mess?
Pre and post COVID, it's going to be a new term, right?
Yeah, so, I know. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to call that. PCP, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's funny. So one of the things we're doing today is we're calling every franchisee that's in development. So right now, out of all of our franchisees, there are 3 that are single unit owners. They've had desired or made plans to open a second. Every other franchisee had secured an additional site or 2 or 3 or 10. They're all working on those sites today. So these calls are house construction coming on iDrive in Orlando. How are we doing in Kissimmee? How are things going in Charlotte, North Carolina? So we're under construction across the country right now. And so we may lose a store or 2 to the calendar year just because things have been held up. International Drive, that store will be ready to open, but we don't want to open until Disney and Universal open again because that store is going to live off those. But outside of that, we're growing. We're not losing. We haven't lost a franchisee. They're all open. They're all engaged. They're looking at this as an opportunity. Financing's better than it's ever been.
Absolutely.
It's sad to say, but there's going to be some available restaurant conversions out there. The marketplace is thinning, and so, we're going to take advantage of those opportunities. And so our take on it's kind of bullish, and our franchisees are the same. And this are the post growth. We have franchisees interested in securing territories. Every one of the people that we had gone down the path with is still engaged, ready to go, looking at this great new financing opportunity. So we think we're going to come out of this stronger than we went into it.
Good. Now, do you have geographic expansion, or do you want to keep plans, or do you want to keep it in the Southeast, or?
Yeah, so we've tried to be, first one to stay within our supply chain, right? So I think you see these brands that go, let's do one in New York, one in Seattle, and all of a sudden you're trying to get these products all across the country. It's not efficient. We run flat pricing, which is also something that's unique in the industry. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever we pay in Baton Rouge is what they're going to pay in Miami. So if we have to offset it with our pricing here, it's a balanced system. So to do that, we can't be all over the board
Mm-hmm.
unless it's a tremendous opportunity where somebody is going to come in with a big infrastructure that we know can get a big cluster of restaurants opened up. Then it probably makes sense to do it. But we've been fine and comfortable just kind of growing. We're in 7 states now. We'll add South Carolina this year. We'll add Myrtle Beach should open in the summer. We will add Oklahoma. We'll add a Tennessee location. Um, possibly Georgia, possibly Savannah this year. But we're just kind of in that South, and then we're going to continue to grow, out from there.
Straight from there. Yeah. The one that's coming up in Northwest Arkansas, I'm going to send all my students. We're going to take a field trip.
Yeah. So. It's a great load. Rogers, they're killing it.
I think that's where it's at. Yeah. I tell you what, I had never been to that part of the country.
Okay.
And when they told me Arkansas, I'm an LSU guy. I'm like, why am I going to go to Northwest Arkansas? You've been there, right?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I mean, God bless Walmart,
Right. How they created something up there.
It's an impressive part of the country. It sure is. Yeah. No, that's cool. I applaud that. And part of that, I would assume, is because it's a privately held company. You don't have the pressures of a publicly held institution.
Exactly. And I think once again, it's a moment in time. We know now, granted, it's lasted longer than we thought, but we know that we need to be a restaurant company ready to go. And it took us a long time to put this team together. And so, once you start furloughing people or laying them, it doesn't mean they all come back. And if they do come back, they're not necessarily the same person. And so our deal was just challenging everybody. It's like, let's just make sure that we're the best of the best. Like we have a Zoom call every Monday. We normally have a staff meeting. We have staff Zoom on Monday. But for our training departments, I'm like, what does it look like to open these stores? What are the level of trainers? I mean, they're doing virtual, online, just ongoing training with all the captains in each location to make sure that it's not just the nuts and bolts. What's the culture like? Let's make it a celebration of reopening. What's that going to be? Yeah. Everybody's thinking way outside. We got to wear masks. We want cool freaking masks. We don't want hospital. We don't walk on with a W on it or a Batman logo like all the things that we're going to have to do. Let's just think outside of the box.
Something I saw the other day. Somebody had made a mask that had a clear spot right here. So the handicapped, the hearing impaired can.
Lips. Wow.
Yeah. I thought that was a pretty interesting take on that. And there's going to be some creative iterations of that.
For sure.
So it's if they got to wear it, they got to wear it. Okay. So while we're at it here, what do you think post-COVID or this world outside of this? Because an area that really interests me is, the acquisition costs of consumers. What are they going to, you're going to have some that are going to come back right away. And matter of fact, I was just reading a study where it said, about 20% they're forecasting I don't buy a lot of these forecasts, but about 20% are going to come back right away to support local. Right. Then you're going to have those medium-term adoptions and then longer-term and late adopters that'll come back. Right. What are you seeing it? And how are y'all going to,
So I think the consumer. So I think there's different segments of consumers. Some that have thrived through this. There are businesses that are thriving right now. There are people making a ton of money that have done very, very well. They're going to be buying a lot of real estate. I mean, there's whatever. I mean, the money just shifts somewhere. It doesn't go away, right? So there's that segment of the economy that's done very well. They're going to be kind of out fast and quick. There's those that have been hurt. There's that have, maybe they were furloughed, but now they're getting paid again, but they're going to be much more conservative in their spending. They're going to have that, 2-3 months salary put away that they didn't have, and they got surprised. But I think the consumer today has learned that casual dining can provide convenience they never thought they could. And we have a drive-through across the parking lot. It's
Right.
pretty darn efficient. Now, will we keep that drive-through? No, but we're going to have some badass curbside.
Sure. Okay.
We have family meals that we've offered right now that are an incredible value that we're going to need to keep some element of that as we ramp out of this thing because we've shown we can do it. And so I don't think you can just take all that back. But it's going to be a slow transition, I think, for the consumer to be comfortable to come out and spend money again. There's going to be that initial pop. I think everybody's like, oh my God, I got to get out of my house. I'm going to go eat out.
Yeah, that's me.
Quick pop. Yeah. Oh, me too. Twice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's going to settle and then it's going to come back in a slow deal. So I think you got to provide convenience. You got to be a safe place that takes it serious. That just because you can open doesn't mean everybody's sneezing, wiping their face. I mean, you've got to still be visible to the consumer and do the right thing, with hand washing and all the stuff you're supposed to do. That's where I think consumer confidence comes back with brands. And then, like I said, it's going to be a slow roll, but
yeah, that the building trust is where I think the brands that do that properly are going, and it's got to be visible, highly visible that you're doing certain things out there. You're wiping down salt and pepper shakers, even if you deliver salt. I mean, there's small things, but that are you separating, your four tops? Are they separated a little bit further? Are
you're still doing that slow seat in the beginning?
Yeah.
I think a lot of those things are going to be, if it was me and I was the guy saying it's time to reopen, I probably would go back to where we were right before we closed, which was checkerboard seating. We pulled all the condiments off the tables. I mean, and kind of just ease back into it, to prevent that, because I think the public demand is going to be, we all want to go out, but I think we have to show that we're disciplined enough to say, we want you, but it's going to we all have to kind of slowly ramp back up to, what it was before.
There's I was reading, I believe it was in Restaurant News, about the supply chain, where we get it, and all of the, the questions that the consumer or the market will have is, okay, well, where did that come from? Did it come from a sterile place? And is it going to be delivered in a sterile, hygienic fashion? Have y'all thought about that? I'm sure you have. And how are you addressing it?
So I mean, we've always kind of had this chain of custody in mind, and a high level of supplier approval. We did every supplier we work with 3-4 times a year just toward their site, as well as the outside, inspectors. But I think a lot of what's going to happen is people want to buy American. I think that local is also made in the USA. So I think the Louisiana push on Louisiana seafood is going to go beyond to, is it American products? I think that's going to be part of it, and because people want to support the economy, I think there's some angst as to how the virus started. I think there's going to be some of that play in there as well. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be safe, it's got to be traceable, and definitely something that we got to do for the consumer.
Do you think any of this will hit your average ticket?
Oh, for sure.
You think so?
Yeah.
Y'all forecasting adjusting that, I would assume?
We are. And so I think
theoretical.
Value is in the eye of the consumer. And so I think full service people are expecting, and they know that we've been down. They know that we've been providing value. And so but you just can't go back to full ticket price. Now, what we've done, I think that's smart, is we've introduced new products that are at a great value. We've not discounted any current products. So our number one seller, classic burger, that's $9.99 on the menu, we've not offered for $7.99 or $6.99, but we've offered slider platters, we've offered family meal deals with different things, but we've not messed with the core menu because we didn't want to be in a situation where, like Chili's, love the brand, but 3 for $10. I saw the other day, and we get on 3 for $10.
How can you do that? I mean, I don't understand how they can make
new items. So I mean, when they're going to open back up, people are going to want the 3 for $10 because it was on the menu. And for us, it's like, do we have the crazy chicken pasta family platter anymore? No, that's on our catering menu. You can absolutely get it, but it's not a dine-in item. And so I think it's just going to take some time, but I think we'll be back. But I'd say 60 to 90 days.
You think?
Now, a lot has to do with football. I think if football doesn't get canceled, for us in our segment, people are excited again. Sports are out. I think people are going to want to go out and eat and have a good time. So
yeah. Well, I'll certainly be there with that too. It's well, I am I go to your Jubin location.
Oh, there you go.
Love it out there. It's a corporate store. I mean, and they put on a good shop. And I've met some of the trainees that you've had come through there.
Oh yeah, we do a lot of management training there.
Fantastic ambassadors for your brand. They've always done a great job. So the bar staff, because I usually just park my butt at the bar and yap at all those guys. And let me tell you, they really are fun to be around. So they represent your brand well. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting forecast on all of this, how it's going to shake out. I'm real curious. So what you got any big challenges for y'all? I mean, I love your optimism.
I want to tell you one other thing I think we're doing that's pretty cool that, once again, take advantage of the opportunity right now with brands and employees that are not doing a good job by their team members. There are restaurant companies that sent an email out to their staff that they were being laid off.
Mm-hmm.
There are restaurants that put a note on the door that said we're closed till the end of April.
Right.
No communication, nothing, just you don't have a job.
Right.
I said we've been feeding our people. We've been communicating with twice a week. We partnered with a company in Dallas who's a competitor, that owns the Whiskey Cake and some other brands we go head to head with in Dallas, and we joined the Furlough Kitchen mission. So we've run Furlough
I love
Kitchen
that idea.
Baton Rouge for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We had, over 4,000 people here out of the Burbank location, just people without a job. So it's for hospitality workers, but I'd say half the line is not hospitality workers. Hungry, need a meal, family with 4 kids shoved in the back of the car, and we give them 6 meals,
Yeah.
So that's expanded to 9 locations last week, 9 locations this week, and we're going to continue to expand it. We'd love to have every Walk-ons be a furlough kitchen. One, it's the right thing to do. It's a great mission. To take care of others. That's what restaurant people know how to do, is feed. And so for us, we're feeding people. The other underlying thing I think that's going to come out of it is that we're feeding other restaurant companies team members that were treated badly. And so when it's time to go back to work and we need to ramp up our restaurants again, hopefully we're able to pick the best of the team members out there, because
we share the same ethos on that, because I don't understand how some of these companies can do that to their employees who made them who they are. I read it. If you're paying any attention to what's going on in Las Vegas with some of those large companies, it's a shame. It really is. But I applaud you guys for that. Every time I see your LinkedIn posts on this, I think it's fantastic.
Man, so we're excited about that. I think that's the big deal. So big challenges for the future. Just hopefully the plans work, right? That customers do come back, that the virus doesn't come back in the fall, that the things that everybody's, it depends on who you watch and who you listen to. And I try to listen to a little bit of everything and then shut off, because at some point you just want to go throw up somewhere. So, I think the biggest challenge is just going to be the unknown, of what this is going to be like. Cause this has been, I hate to say uncharted waters. I think that's like one of the most overused statements, but it's true. It's uncharted waters. Nobody had a plan for this, but we're going to know come fall, how to handle it better. But like I said, I feel good. I think we have our team in place. Our team members are great. I see a lot of them coming to the restaurants. I know at Jubin, there's a lot of them coming to eat every single day, and so like I said, when it's time to open back up, we hope we have our team together. And I think a lot of companies won't. They're going to be scrambling. And I think the first one there, just like after a hurricane, you're a South Louisiana guy, the places that open up first endear themselves to the community. We want to endear ourselves to the community, endear ourselves to our team by getting them back to work faster. So that's all we're focused on right now, honestly, is what, we're past the hump of what do we got to do. Now it's like, okay, we're going to open again soon. Let's make sure that we got a plan. So they say open on Monday. We're ready to open on Monday.
Good. That's good. So, all right, you're talking to, a bunch of students here. I've got just under 150 students that I'm talking to. But, let's say I show this in a couple of semesters from now. What would you tell them? And if they want to get into this career?
So congratulations for going to school for it. I think that's awesome. When I talk to students, I'll usually ask, how many of you grew up telling mom and dad you want to be a restaurant manager? And very few hands come up. It's usually the job you're working when you're going to college, and then you end up falling into the restaurant business. And you have that stigma with your parents and friends of, when are you going to get a real job? Well, guess what? It is a real job. So you're on the great path to a great career. I would say be flexible. What you learn in school isn't always reality. When you get into this business, it's a business of people. And so you have to be able to juke and jive. You got to be flexible. You got to understand that you're working with a base of employees that this isn't necessarily their career. And so you've got to get people to be career minded in a business that they're not ever seeing as their career, which means you've got to inspire them. You've got to give everybody a path. And so I think just it's a great business. I think be flexible. When there's an opportunity put in front of you, take it. For my career, I moved a bunch. I took opportunities that I didn't think I was ready for, but I took them and I fought my way through it. And now I'm the president of a restaurant company. And I never thought this was the business I was going to be in when I was in college. I was going to be an attorney. And, here I am running restaurants. But I'm so much happier having gone this path than I ever would have been having been an attorney.
Good. Well, you got any questions for me?
No, man, I think it's awesome. I think I love your story. My wife worked for Disney for a long time. We lived in Orlando, so
Sure.
lived in Altamont Springs, so we probably crossed paths down there.
Yeah. I'm going to stop this so you and I can just chat for a second.
Sure.